Welcome to the after party. I'm so happy you're here. This is called Deconstructed Dreams, and it's a very special post-concert chat. Now that I'm at home, I'm done the concert, I can relax. I want to just say thank you to you all for buying a ticket and supporting me. I would not be where I am right now without my fans. I would have no career. So I just wanted to say from the top of this chat, thank you so much. We are gonna, how am I gonna do this today? We're gonna do the Q&A first, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about my creative process, if I haven't answered that in the questions already. Like just simple stuff, like how I put together a vision for a video shoot or for an album shoot. I know there are lots of creatives in my fan base, and hopefully this will inspire you or give you ideas for how to approach creative projects. And then I'm also going to play you some writing demos. I love doing this because, you know, when we talk about production in music and how there aren't enough female producers, it's really handy to like show people how much of the production ideas happen at home on my own, and then obviously become much better and bigger and more polished when I work with collaborators. So I think that's going to be fun. I'm also going to show you a Logic session so that any aspiring musicians out there can see like how easy it is to produce at home on a basic level. Okay. We are gonna start the Q&A. Great questions, by the way. Okay, first up, where do you stand on astrology? Do you feel like you're a true Libra? That's from C. Molina. I don't know if I'm a true Libra. Apparently Libras like always love to be in relationships, and they love love, and they're very flirtatious. And my life so far hasn't really demonstrated that, but I don't know. I think I'm a funny Libra. I'm like the least Libra because I've got Scorpio rising and a Leo moon. So what inspired you to write Goodbye? That's from Lennon. Well, apart from being a song about the end of a relationship, it's also about saying goodbye to versions of yourself, or, you know, goodbye to like certain parts of yourself. I really feel like, I don't know, I feel like a new woman. I'm 35, and it's cool to like still continue to evolve and grow and feel those big shifts. I don't know if you guys feel the same. I just feel like sometimes I'm like, when will I just stay still and be happy? It always feels like I am shedding things and parts of myself that I've found really challenging. Sean says, what was the inspiration for the album photo shoot? It's so unique. Thank you. I always try and blend like a futuristic feeling with what I'm doing, or at least since Fruit I have. Love and Fear was much simpler, but I'm always like endlessly inspired by the idea of like referencing very classic feminine beauty and blending that with a futuristic feel. But yeah, I'll show you some of my inspirations for the shoot in a little while. Kitty says, where did the inspiration come from for the title of Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land? So in love with this. It's a funny source. Basically, I was reading this book about Japan called The Lady and the Monk, and on the back page was a book review from the LA Times in, I think, the 80s or 90s. And it wasn't exactly the album title, but it was something similar, and it really evoked this strange feeling of blending elements of the past, you know, when I say past, I mean like human history, with the present. And they were describing how they felt in Kyoto in Japan, which really does have this like ancient feel. So there's not like a huge meaning behind it. It's more the imagery that it evokes. What was your favorite song to write on this album, and what was your inspiration for it? My favorite song to write was Venus Flytrap. It's so fun and so like freeing. And my inspiration for that song is to really like celebrate who you are. And that sounds a little bit cliche, but what I mean by that is don't be apologetic about yourself. Don't play it small for anybody. None of us are here to, you know, to be small, to make other people feel safe or comfortable. And that's something that I've struggled with my whole life. I've like, on the outside, I've led a very free and fortunate existence, but like internally I didn't feel so free, but now I do. And that song helped me to express that. Tom Cornell says, do you think you're ahead of your time at all? A lot of people have found your music way after the fact. I don't know. I feel like artists are always some steps ahead of time because they're like, if you're like a creative, I feel like you've got antennas that are absorbing certain things, certain feelings that the collective, you know, that essentially the world is feeling, and then you absorb that and put it into your work and reflect it back so that society can also think about it, acknowledge it, become conscious of it. So I don't think that's anything that I like do uniquely, but it is really cool to see certain songs on TikTok still connect, especially because they weren't like the singles. Like Bubblegum Bitch wasn't a single, nor was Are You Satisfied? Next question. What do you think, this is from Shavu, what do you think when old demos randomly show up on the internet? Does that make you want to shelve the song completely? You know what? Part of me doesn't mind because it's some kind of document of that song in case I like lose it myself in years to come. But part of me does shelve those songs, and it's a shame because I think fans don't realize like how those songs actually get stolen. Like it can result in missed opportunities for the artist if they're pitching that song to another artist or like a movie or something. But, you know, all I can say is please stop doing it. But at the same time, I understand as a fan that you want to listen to unreleased material. Kaylee says, do you think defining who you are gives you more confidence or self-esteem? That's a really good question. I think for those of us who've struggled to feel like anchored or centered growing up, or for those of us who haven't been allowed to express who we truly were, yeah, that can give you a sense of confidence when you define yourself. But I think what I've learned over the years is that identity is ever shifting, and that art, whether that's consuming it or creating it, really helps you to explore that. And so for myself, projects like Electra Heart or just discussing identity in general have really helped settle my conflicts about that. Like, I don't feel any conflict anymore. I'm not to quote Ancient Dreams, but you know, I'm not my body, I'm not the way that I look, I'm not even you know, my DNA. That's nothing, that was like no choice of my own to like come into this life. So why would I identify with it, if that makes sense? Let's see what the next one is. Oh, okay. GASDF699 says, why was Man's World released earlier than the other singles? Was it because of timing or a shift in stylistic choice? No, not at all. It was just that we couldn't film because of really high COVID numbers in LA between December and February, so it put my campaign back like 3 months, but certainly wasn't for a stylistic choice. Would you, MJ Willman says, would you ever still consider re-recording some of your old demos into an album? Some of these songs are so extremely important. Yeah, sometimes I get really intense about it when I listen to old stuff and I'm like, oh my God, like Dirty Sheets is so good. Like the chorus is so good on it, I should record it again. So I don't know, maybe if like my songwriting talent ever dries up, I'll go back to the demos and make an album out of them. But it would be fun to, especially with my kind of current sound. Nicole says, Marina, what would you say to your fans struggling with body image issues? I love you so much. Thanks for always being there. Oh man, I could do like a whole chat on this. It's so difficult when you have disordered thinking or disordered eating habits because it's so hard to get rid of them. And I have over 10 years experience of that. Luckily, I can say now that I'm pretty much fully recovered from any like eating disordered illnesses, but yeah, I should have advice, but I don't know if I do right now. Let me have a think. I think what I would concentrate on is like less about how you actually look and more about how you, I think there's two things. One is like how you feel about yourself. Like if there's self-worth issues going on there, you've got to find out who or what is the root of that. You know, is it like people at school? Is it parents? Is it brother, sister? Because we're not born hating ourselves. It always comes from an external source. And the kind of hateful voice that we hear in our heads is often not us. It's like a caregiver or, you know, like I said, family member or somebody at school that we've grown up with. So I would figure that out. And then the second thing I would consider is just like learning what a balanced diet actually is. That's only something that I've figured out recently. I have to eat 3 meals because it still feels weird. But yeah, I hope that's of some help to some people. Still figuring it out, basically. Sasha says, what was the last song you wrote for this record? It was Goodbye. And I felt like, just after I wrote that song, I was like, now I'm done. I've squeezed everything dry and now I can move on. Okay, Braden says, will there be a tour for Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land? Yes, there will be. I'm going to be touring the US next spring in February, and I'll also be doing a European run, and I have some more announcements, but I can't tell you yet, but 100%. Unless something crazy happens in the world and things get cancelled. I hope not, though. I think we should be good with vaccines now. Okay, Sasha Kaya says, how do you perceive yourself as a human being celebrated as an artist? In other words, what's your perspective on celebrity culture? This is such a good question because I feel so odd about it. Like, I don't know. I think fame is one of the worst things that you could wish upon someone. And I know that's kind of a double-edged thing to say because recognition and the fame that comes from spreading a certain message or doing something very important for the world is like a very positive thing. But I think celebrity culture is just a waste of time and I don't want to have anything to do with it. I want to have fans, but I don't see myself as part of that really. And I think the type of career that I've built also like shows that, you know, if I was going to go that route, it would have happened by now. B. Walker says, do you ever cringe at some of your older songs that you've written and released? Yeah, not many, but some. One in particular is Girls off Family Jewels because it's just so catty and it's so like 2009. I think it was very indicative of like internalized misogyny that I had at the time. And, you know, it's not like the worst song ever, but I don't think I would ever sing it again live. I think I've grown up a lot since then. Garces Daniela, or Daniela Garces says, are we still your diamonds? Of course, of course. Please forgive me for changing my name. I needed to do it. Yeah, of course, this is still a community and an ever-growing community. And, you know, that's also great about music. Okay, what's the next question? Nicholas Melendra says, would this album be completely different if the pandemic never occurred? Yeah, I think it would actually. I think I'd still be singing about or inspired to sing about some social issues that just keep getting worse. But I think what the pandemic has done in a good and bad way is it's exploded these like deep social issues that were going on, and it's made everybody aware of them, no matter what your background, your privilege, your, you know, ethnicity, whatever. And that has definitely affected my work because I wrote most of this record from April 2020 onwards. I wrote Man's World in 2019, but that was pretty much the only song I'd written before pandemic. Evelyn Flores says, what do you think your purpose is for humanity? Oh, I don't know. I feel like we're all asking ourselves that. I do feel a lot of purpose from my role as an artist. I think for me, like songwriting has always been a way of uplifting my own consciousness. It's like my subconscious brain talks to my conscious brain and makes me aware of the things that I've had issues with or just how I really feel about things. And so it's been like such a healing tool for me to be able to use that over my adult life. So I guess in terms of like purpose, I would hope that my songs do that for other people as well. Yeah. Peach Leaf says, this era seems inspired by Greek mythology. Was this planned or a lucky coincidence? It's quite an interesting contrast with the album themes. You know what? It wasn't really. I mean, in the beginning, I was actually going to call it Pandora's Box, and that was going to have a very like mythological Greek concept, but I switched it towards the end. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Thank you for that question, Peach Leaf. Jewel R. Folly says, what do you feel has been the most fulfilling thing about creating music? I think kind of what I just said, which is that it's such an amazing tool, whether you know, listen to it or you write it, it's like an incredibly therapeutic way of working through issues and processing pain, happiness, grief. It's like a magical tool, and that's why we all love it so much, and that's why we all are affected by it so much. Paul says, or Paulie H says, is it worth putting my own original songs out there if I can only record them on my iPad? Absolutely. Yeah, get them out there. I think it's worth recording them on anything. I mean, Daniel Johnston, he drew these lovely cartoons. He used to record on a cassette tape. So my belief is that if there's something there, like if the emotion's real, the listener will hear it. It doesn't matter what kind of scratchy form it's recorded in. And as you'll hear in a minute, my demos are very rough. Oh, this is such a good question. From Sophie McConnell, she says, was there ever an album you didn't like at first, but then later on you enjoyed it? Yes, see, because I am ancient, when I was a teenager, I used to go to HMV in London, and the only way in which you could know what an album was like was by staring at its cover. So I would buy albums by like Imogen Heap, Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and they would be purely because I was attracted to the album cover, and then I would listen to them, and it would take me quite a long time to like them. And those both those artists, Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Imogen Heap, took me like a minute to get into, but now they're some of my favorite artists ever and biggest inspirations. All right, I'm back. I had to go and drink some water. Next question. I'm gonna do like 5 more or something. In Poacher Poison, who are you referencing when you say all my friends are witches? When I say that, I don't even mean women. I mean people who are unconventional and who aren't afraid to go against the grain. Next question. Your work has always spoken on a level of advocacy for exploring psychosocial and cultural dynamics. Outside of music, how do you treat burnout? This is such an interesting question. I mean, I've had a lot of experience with this actually, and I've really struggled the past 5 years to maintain my health and to try and find out what was wrong with me. I went through quite a difficult period after the Fruit Tour in 2016. It was it was triggered by many different things: family health, deaths of relatives, and my own, lack of understanding that I had at the time about what I wanted to do. And I just started to feel like deeply, deeply tired all the time, and no amount of sleep would reverse it. I know this is a really common feeling now because it's also linked into the way that we live our lives, the fact that we're on our phones all the time, we have way less social connection, like in real life, and all of these small things add up to a greater whole. And it's honestly taken me so many years to figure out how to heal. And I'm still not there yet, but for me, treating burnout includes sleep hygiene, which means going to bed at a healthy time and waking up at a healthy time. So now I'm in bed by 10:30 most nights. It's very strange if I'm up at 12, even though I was last night, but that's for work, I'm tired. And yeah, eating healthily, all these things that sound boring, but that you just do not take for granted when you suddenly have a health problem. So it's a 21st century disease. A lot of health issues are related to this. So if you're young, if you're in your 20s, please just look after yourself. Nothing is worth pushing yourself over the edge, It's okay to say no to things. Hopefully says, how fed up are you with this world, Marina? Oh God, I hope people don't think I'm fed up. I find a lot of optimism and joy and hope out there. I don't know, I feel like I'm always thinking in an anthropological way. I just hope that we are gonna evolve and work through this as human beings, and that there's something better on the other side. In 100 years time, we're going to be in a much healthier, cleaner, more like respectful world. I don't know if I'm an idealist. I don't know. Am I a depressed idealist? Pessimistic idealist is what I mean. Miranda says, do you view God as an entity or individual, or neither? I definitely don't view God as an individual. I think God is an entity. I think we are tiny, tiny, tiny parts, all of us, of a much larger, like, conscious entity. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, I used to think the soul was, you know, this intangible thing that never died, which I still believe. However, I also thought it was like unique to me, and that my soul had my personality. Now I think the opposite. I think that personality is totally governed by biology and your experiences growing up. So how that links to the God thing is that I feel like our souls they kind of collect experiences over lifetimes, if there are other lives, and we are kind of God experiencing itself. Unfortunately, like, God isn't a very helpful word anymore, because I think people connect that to Christianity, and they connect that to an old white man in the sky, which God as an entity would probably laugh about now. And so it's a little bit confusing, but yeah, if we talk about it as like the source of creation or the creator of the universe, that's what I believe right now. Maybe in 5 years that will change, but that's as much sense as I've made of this topic. JPSA91 says, what inspired the V-bangs? Okay, can I just say, so I have seen a lot of comments about, is it Natasha Oriro? Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. It is actually uncanny. She had a song called Poison, I think, that came out in the 90s. I've never heard of her before, but she's a beautiful woman. My bangs idea came about because we had this old wig, but the fringe was cut really unevenly. So it was either like do it way shorter or do a V, keep a bit of the length. And it looked great, so we kept it. Stephanie says, was there any particular song on the album that was challenging to write? I think the most challenging was New America, because it's such a sensitive topic, and I didn't want to come across as like being, I don't know, preachy or like disrespectful to Americans. I'm aware that I haven't lived my whole life here, but I am fascinated in what America stands for, and I think the rest of the world watches America as an example. And, you know, racism as a topic is applicable all over the world. I'm just using America as like a symbol for what's happened because of George Floyd being murdered and the responses to that. So that was a really difficult song because it took me just ages to write the lyrics. I can only hope that it's received in the right way, and you know, that it's a reflection of the truth that we now like understand to be part of American history, unfortunately. Someone says, Marina, I love you. Are you going to have dancers or a band on tour? The band is back. I did love having dancers, but this song is like a rock album, so we need a big live band. I'm excited. All right, last few questions. Rosie says, are you really a witch? Kinda, but kinda not. It depends what you think a witch is. I think I think of a witch as someone who's intuitive, in touch with nature, isn't afraid to be unconventional. And funny enough, whenever I've gone to, I've been to like 4 psychic readings in my life, And 3 of them, like, as soon as I came in the room, they were like, oh, you've got like witch energy, but like in a good way. Like, you definitely have psychic ability, which is true. All right. Last few. Michelle, you expressed several years ago about not wanting to meet and greet your fans because of expectations. What's changed? I love meeting my fans, and as you guys know, on tour, I always try to meet people after the show, but meet and greets can be quite difficult because I'm introvert. I am an introvert, which means that the way that I restore my energy is by like being on my own, and after shows I can feel really tired, so that's the only reason. I love meeting fans, so other than that. All right, I think we are at the end of the Q&A. I'm gonna do some demo playing now. Got my laptop. Okay, what should I do first? What should I do first? By the way, if the sound is shit on this, my trusty helper Brendan is gonna play the real thing and insert the audio. All right, I'm gonna play you a little bit of Ancient Dreams, then I'm gonna show you the breakdown of how I made the song at home.
Our ancestors had to fight to survive, just so we could have a chance of a life. We're not here so we can blow it all. We can bear witness to the rise and the fall. Ancient dreams in a modern land. I'm trying to get back as fast as I can. Back to a time before I had fun. Back to a time before I was born. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to fit into the norm. You are not here to conform. I am here to take a look inside myself, recognize that I could be the eye of the storm. I am not my body, not my mind, or my brain. Not my thoughts or feelings, I am not my DNA. I am the observer, I'm a witness of life. I live in the space between the stars and the sky.
All right. So that's the demo. I'm going to show you now how I produce my songwriting demos. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of see. So here we are, we start with drum beat. Basically, when I want to write a totally different song to like the ballads I write on pianos, I always start with a drum beat. That gives me like a brand new energy, and it changes the way that I write melodies. Like, I write different, kind of much more inventive melodies, I think. Okay, then we have flute. Very simple. Just do it on a little MIDI keyboard. Nice little guitar. Again, it doesn't have to be fancy, it can just be a little MIDI guitar. It's just like, so you have enough to show your producer what kind of sound you want. So I'm just going to play from here, and then I'm going to put all of the vocals in. Just so we could have a chance of a life. We're not here so we can blow it all. We can bear witness to the rise and the fall. Ancient dreams in a modern land. I'm trying to get back as fast as I can. Back to the time before I had fun. Back to the time before I was born. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to fit into the norm. You are not here to conform. Okay, so I actually record all my vocals in the internal mic just because it's much quicker. I wouldn't recommend doing this, but that's how I've always recorded. And I'm just showing that to tell you that it doesn't need to be pro. Whoever asked about the iPad thing, like, use it to experiment and don't worry about it being scratchy. I'm gonna play you Poacher Poison next.
All my friends are witches and we live in Hollywood. Mystical bitches making our own sisterhood. While society is falling, we are quietly reforming, protecting the planet, healing our own damage. Quarantined all alone, Mother Nature's on the phone. What have you been doing? Don't forget I am your home. Virus come, fires burn, until human beings learn from every disaster. You are not my master. Need to put your poison, show us our humanity. All the bad and good, racism and misogyny. Nothing's hidden anymore. Capitalism is poor. God forgive America for every single war. Need to push the poison from our system until human beings listen. Tell me who you think you are. It's your own decision, but your home is now your prison. You forgot that without me you won't go far. Need to push the poison from our system until human beings listen. Tell me what you think you are. 2007, when size zero was the rage. Britney shaved her head and all we did was call her crazy.
All right. And then I'm gonna show you Venus Flytrap session as well. Also, just like another comment for aspiring artists out there. I think like part of the demo process is to show like where there is going to be shade and light in a song. So again, like sometimes it doesn't really matter about the quality of the parts, or like if there's a slightly cheesy electric guitar, it's more just to signify like where certain dynamics are going to happen. Yeah, I think, should I play another one? Let's see what New America's saying.
That you had big dreams, that you had big plans.
This was a bit more choral than it.
But abuse can make a free land. You've got a white picket fence and your dad's got a gun. And when you see the police, there's no reason to run. You got a job and a car and a good dental plan. You got health insurance, pocket money, damn. America, America, America. You can bury the truth. It's time to pay your dues.
I think we've heard enough. So, those were some little home demos. And then lastly, I want to show you guys how I create mood boards. So let's see if I can find the Man's World treatment that I did. Man's World video. All right, here we go. So I worked on this with the director Alexandra Gavile, and she kind of like looked at my treatment and expanded on it and contributed to it. But again, I'm gonna try and do a screen grab of it for you guys. Okay, here we are. So basically, I pretty much centered the whole like vibe of the video around these paintings by John William Goddard. He was a neoclassical painter, and he used these really interesting color compositions. So it's like pastels with almost like neons. Like this is such, I don't know, it's such a like modern color composition, and I was so shocked that he created these in the late 1800s. Like, never see this color combo around. Incredible. I had these visions of neoclassical styled ladies doing like very modern things, like sipping, I don't know, like Japanese strawberry sodas or reading feminist literature. And I also referenced these little bits. The little kind of witchy black and white bit was based on this. And so what I do with the treatments is I break it down into scenes. So I focus on like verse 1, verse 2, pre-chorus, and you start to build a structure. But Ali really helped me a lot with that because I'm not as pro as her on that front, and she was incredible on the day in terms of sorting out where everything was going. Right, so what else do we have here? I'm also going to show you my album shoot mood board. I don't know if this came up in the Q&A, but it's something I'm asked a lot, which is like, how do you build a visual, or like, how do you begin a visual era? And the thing is that sometimes I collect imagery as I'm writing the music, but it's generally like after I've finished the album, because things change and you think you've found an amazing idea, and then 6 months later, like somebody else does it, and so you have to start building again. But it's something that I really enjoy. And let me just wait to find this. Okay, I think we've got it. So originally this is what I sent Koffs, the incredible photographer who did the shoot. I was really inspired by Pierre et Gilles, the French duo who have been making these types of photographs for years and years. I love their work so much, but I also wanted to have this like very glossy, ethereal lighting. This was Koffs' like former work. We got some stuff over here by some other incredible female photographers. Some surrealist imagery. I really wanted it to feel surreal, so I hopefully captured that. And this is super ridiculous old rave flyer, and I love it. Yeah, see, that's the stuff you got to put in. This actually very much inspired the desert show. I started to look at all these funny locations. Here were my little hairstyling refs, the wig. This was the makeup. We kind of didn't end up doing this kind of thing in the end, but you just kind of change it on the day. And that's about it. I think I'm talked out. I think you guys are probably ready to go to bed or something, or have a cocktail, or have a cup of tea. I just want to say big thank you again for joining me. I hope that you have gained something from it or learned something. And I guess like see you guys soon. I literally can't wait for this spring tour. It's just been too long, too long. Please take care of yourselves. Love you so much, and speak to you very soon.